The galaxy had just come out of a Cold War. Treaties were fresh, wounds were still open, but peace had arrived, even if shaky. Among the many new efforts to bind species together, the great marriage alliance between the Ilari Empire and their former rivals, the Thalnax Coalition, was the most talked about event across space. Among the few human delegates invited to this royal alien wedding was Ethan Cole. He wasn't a warrior or diplomat. He was just an engineer, an expert in alien energy systems, chosen for his peaceful record and his calm nature. The invitation was supposed to be a symbol. Humans were neutral. They were still new to galactic politics, but respected for their survival instincts and unpredictable thinking. The wedding was held inside the Crystal Fortress, a place built with glowing stones that hummed with power. The Ilari king, proud and tall with shining silver armor, had opened his gates to dozens of alien species. Ethan stood among them, feeling like a grain of sand in a palace of stars. He had no intention to speak, no plan to be seen. He just watched, quietly from the last row of the grand hall. But the moment he entered, someone had already noticed him. Princess Sorrentha, daughter of the king, future empress. A woman who had turned down every powerful suitor in the galaxy. She stood at the altar in golden ceremonial armor, her long violet hair flowing like silk behind her. Her glowing eyes scanned the crowd and stopped on Ethan. She didn't smile. She didn't look away. She simply stared. Ethan felt a strange pressure in his chest, like someone had flipped gravity inside him. He looked around, thinking she must be focused on someone else. But she was staring at him, a human who didn't belong here. Suddenly, the ground shook slightly. The chandeliers above rang with metallic whispers. At first, guests assumed it was part of the ceremony. Ilari weddings were dramatic after all. But then the windows exploded. A direct attack. Screams filled the air as alien warriors pulled out their weapons. Guards rushed in. Flames rose near the entrance. The enemy had come, not the Thalnax, but a third faction that hated the peace. They didn't want the wedding. They wanted war to return. Ethan ducked, pulling a small shield from his belt, standard human tech. He had no weapons. Just instinct. All around him, chaos reigned. And then he saw her, the princess, still standing at the altar, surrounded by her guards, but all of them looking confused, hesitant. One of the attackers had breached their ranks. He was moving fast, and one was reacting quickly enough. Ethan didn't think. He ran, leaping over broken stone. Dodging blasts, he rushed toward her and tackled the alien assassin before the weapon could touch her. They crashed to the floor. The attacker roared in fury, but Ethan's small shield buzzed loudly, shocking the alien into unconsciousness. Silence followed for a second. The princess stared down at him. Her expression was unreadable. Then, softly, she reached out and touched his chest. The guards came in and pulled Ethan up roughly, weapons drawn, unsure whether he was part of the attack. But the princess raised her hand. "Let him go," she said calmly, her voice echoing through the ruined hall. Everyone froze. "Saved me." The king stood now, his face dark with rage from the attack. But when he saw his daughter protect the human with such certainty, his anger faded into something else. A deep curiosity. Minutes later, as the fires were controlled and the attackers captured, a quiet meeting took place in the back chamber. The princess requested that Ethan remain under protection. She looked at her father and said something that shocked every witness present. "He saved the future of our empire," she said. "By our tradition, I will marry him." Ethan's face turned pale. "What?" he whispered. "No. This is a misunderstanding." But the princess turned to him with a serious gaze. "You came here as a guest. You chose to act when others froze. You saved my life. That is not something I can ignore. Not as a ruler, not as a woman." The king, after a long silence, spoke only 3 words. "So be it." And in the ruined hall, where war almost returned, history took a new turn, not through weapons or treaties, but through one human's reckless act of courage. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. He sat on the soft, glowing bed in a guest chamber, far bigger than his entire apartment back on Earth. Crystal walls shimmered with soft blue light, and strange, floating orbs hovered silently around the room, watching, recording, or maybe just decorating. He couldn't tell. Every corner of the palace felt like a living museum. And yet, all Ethan could think about was what had just happened. Married? He came to a wedding, and now he was the one getting married? It didn't feel real. One moment he was sipping juice from a glowing glass, and the next, the most powerful princess in the Alari Empire had claimed him as her, made in front of hundreds of alien leaders. He didn't even know the customs. He barely knew her name. A soft knock echoed from the door. Before he could answer, it opened. Princess Sorrentha entered with a calm but commanding presence. Her armor was gone, replaced by flowing royal robes that glowed like starlight. Her violet hair was braided now, hanging over one shoulder. Ethan stood up quickly, unsure what to say. "I didn't know you were allowed to visit," he said. "I gave the order," she replied simply, stepping closer. "It is my right." He rubbed the back of his neck. "About earlier. I didn't mean to disrespect your customs. I saw you were in danger. Anyone would have done the same." "No," she said firmly. "No one else did. That's why you're different." He looked into her glowing eyes and felt the weight of her words. This wasn't just about marriage. This was about why she had chosen him. "But this can't be real," he said. "I'm human. I'm not royal. I don't belong in your world." Sorrentha raised an eyebrow. "Do you think I care for politics more than survival? You risked your life for mine. That action holds meaning, no matter your species." She stepped even closer, her voice softer now. "But if you truly want to walk away, I won't stop you. My claim can be undone. I only ask you to speak honestly." Ethan looked down. His mind was spinning, but his heart, it remembered how fast he'd moved without thinking. It remembered her eyes staring at him through smoke and glass. He looked up. "I don't know what this all means," he said, "but I'm not going to run." She smiled for the first time, not a royal smile, not the kind given for the crowd. A real one. Suddenly, the floating orb near the door pulsed red. A robotic voice announced, "Security breach on the western tower. Unidentified cloaked signal detected." Sorrentha turned sharply. "Stay here." "No way," Ethan said, already following her. "I'm not sitting on a pillow while things explode again." She gave him a sideways glance but didn't argue. The two raced down the hallway. Alien guards joined them from side passages, forming tight formations. Through high windows, Ethan could see two moonlit towers in the distance, and between them, a black ship hovering unnaturally, cloaked. In shadow, this wasn't just an attacker. This was a professional infiltration unit. "Who are they?" Ethan asked. "Not Thalmax, not rebels," Sorrentha muttered. "Something worse, silent blades." Ethan's heart pounded. "That sounds comforting." As they entered the West Tower, chaos already danced inside. Guards lay stunned, not killed, hit with precise shocks that left no burns. These weren't assassins here to spill blood. They're here for something else, Ethan said aloud. Sorrentha looked at him sharply. "Or someone." They rushed upward. The air was cold now, wind slipping through shattered glass windows. At the top floor, three cloaked figures stood near a console, downloading something from the Empire's internal core. Sorrentha didn't hesitate. She rushed in with her energy blade glowing, blocking one of the attackers. Ethan ducked behind a pillar and spotted a dropped Alari baton. He grabbed it. The moment one attacker saw him, he launched forward, too fast. Ethan barely got the shield up in time, and sparks exploded as the baton clashed with an alien dagger. "You again," the attacker growled. You know me? Ethan asked. The attacker answered with a punch. Ethan grunted, blocked, and rolled. This wasn't like saving someone with instinct. This was survival, but even in panic his mind worked fast. He used the shield to slam the attacker into the wall and yanked the cloaking device off his arm. The alien shimmered, his body glitching. Between forms, he wasn't just a thief. He was a mimic. Sorrentha finished her fight and turned just in time to see Ethan hold the mimic's device. Give that to me, she said quickly. That's no ordinary tech. Ethan tossed it to her. We've got more than marriage problems. She looked at him with seriousness. You're not just my chosen mate now. You're part of this war whether you like it or not. And this time, Ethan didn't argue. The royal council chamber was silent, but the tension felt louder than a battlefield. Ethan stood at the center, flanked by armored guards and watched by alien nobles sitting in a half-circle of gold-trimmed seats. The mimic's cloaking device had been placed on a transparent pedestal, floating mid-air as Alari scientists scanned its strange design. This device, said High Counselor Varnak, was not made by any known empire. Its energy signature is a ... foreign, even to us. The king's face was carved from stone. He leaned forward slightly, and yet it was here, on the day of alliance, during the wedding of my daughter. Many eyes turned to Ethan, not with hatred, but suspicion. He was the unexpected element, the variable. A human in the middle of a centuries-old alien conflict. Sorrentha stood by his side, her presence like a shield of calm. My decision remains unchanged, she said. This human saved me again. If he had not been present, the device would be lost, and we would be blind to this threat. But what if a human draws the threat? An old noble hissed. What if he is the bait, or worse, the reason they attack? Ethan didn't speak at first. He wasn't trained for diplomacy. He was used to wires and circuits, not politics. And tradition. But then he stepped forward. I didn't come here to be a hero, he said, voice steady. And I didn't ask to marry a princess. But twice now, I've helped stop something your guards missed. If that makes me a target, then fine, I'll be the target. But at least let me help you see what's coming. There was silence again, then. The king stood. Very well, he said. Let the human speak with the tech masters, find out what he knows. If the device is a message, he will decode it. If not, then we decide again. Ethan nodded slowly, not realizing until that moment how deeply he had stepped into this alien world. He was no longer just a guest, he was part of the court. And maybe, part of the storm. Later that evening, in a chamber lined with floating crystals, Ethan met with Alari tech masters. The mimic's device had already been half disassembled. What they couldn't solve with tools, they hoped Ethan could solve with instinct. He leaned over the holographic projection and narrowed his eyes. Wait. This pattern, it's not a power signature. It's a language. The oldest tech master leaned forward. You can read this? Not fully, Ethan admitted. But part of it uses human binary code. Somebody encoded a message inside. They stared at him. Play it, one whispered. Ethan tapped a few runes and the hologram flickered. A shadowed figure appeared, speaking in a strange, distorted voice. If you are seeing this, then the mimic has failed. The Alari think peace will protect them. They are wrong. The true architects are watching. This is only the beginning. The daughter will fall. The empire will kneel. And the human will burn. The image vanished. Ethan stood frozen. Sorrentha, who had arrived moments earlier, clenched her fists. Who are the true architects? Enfen asked. The room felt cold. The tech master finally answered. A myth. A race older than the empires. Some say they built the warp gates. Others say they were erased by time. But if they're real, and they're coming. Ethan looked at Sorrentha. That message wasn't just a threat. It was personal. They know your name, she said softly. They want to break the alliance, Ethan said. And they know the fastest way to do it is to kill you. Or kill me. He turned toward the king's chamber, a new weight in his steps. We need to prepare, he said. Because next time they won't send spies. Sorrentha didn't hesitate. Then we fight. Together. She took his hand, not for show. Not for politics, but as a promise. In that moment, the human guest and the alien princess became more than a symbol. They became the center of the storm, and the galaxy had just started to spin. Asterisk. The sky above the Alari capital was no longer calm. For days now, strange ships had been seen in the outer system, silent, cloaked and fast. Traders vanished. Drones stopped responding. Something was coming, and the message inside the Mimic's device was no longer just a warning. It was a countdown. Ethan stood in the royal war room, surrounded by tall alien commanders and glowing maps made from floating light. He wore a dark blue ceremonial suit now, marked with the Alari crest. He still didn't feel like royalty, but he was treated like one. Or maybe like a target. Sorrentha entered behind him, wearing polished silver armor with golden lines shaped like wings. Her eyes were sharper now, colder. The warmth she once had was buried under duty. They're moving closer, she said. Just 2 jumps away from our system. No response to hails. No identification. The king stood beside them, arms crossed. So the architects are real after all. No, Ethan corrected. They want us to believe they're real. We still haven't seen what species they are. Just threats. And sabotage, Sorrentha added. There were 3 more attempts to breach the energy grid last night. They're softening us up, Ethan said. Trying to break trust before striking hard. The king gave a nod. Then we strike first, Ethan blinked. You're launching an attack? No, Sorrentha said. We're sending you. What? Ethan turned to her, stunned. You're not going alone, she continued. A small team. One of our fastest stealth ships. We traced the last signal burst to an abandoned satellite on the edge of the Varn belt. If these architects are staging something, it starts there. Ethan shook his head. You want me to go to them? We want answers, the king said, and they clearly want you. Ethan paused, then let out a slow breath. Then let's give them what they want. The ship they gave him was called Shadow Flame, a sleek, dark vessel shaped like a stingray. It hummed quietly, almost alive. Sorrentha insisted on joining him, over the protests of her father and the council. I won't hide in the palace, she told them. I fight beside him. Or not at all. Along with them came 2 elite guards, a navigation officer, and a silent pilot named Ro with silver eyes and a mysterious past. The journey to the Varn belt took 2 jumps through unstable worm lanes. The stars outside looked closer than normal. Almost watching them, Ethan sat in the ship's central chamber, looking at the Mimic's device again. It now pulsed every few hours like it was responding to something ahead. We're being tracked, Sorrentha said. I know. You're not afraid? I am. But fear's not going to stop me. She gave him a small smile. Good, then. You're starting to understand what it means to be Alari. They reached the coordinates near the Varn belt, just after second rotation. What they found shocked them all. A massive station half hidden in asteroid ice, powered by stolen Alari. Tech, no markings. No transmissions. Just a quiet signal pulsing toward deep space, and hundreds of small ships floating like spiders around it. It's a forward base, Sorrentha whispered. They've already begun. Ethan leaned forward. Send a scan, carefully. The ship responded silently. Moments later, the data appeared. There were no life forms inside. Only machines. War machines. Auto-controlled, Ethan said. They don't need pilots, they just need a signal. Then the Mimic's device glowed red. A new message played, this time not in words, but in code. It raced through the systems, trying to shut down their controls. They're hacking us. The pilot shouted, cut external links. Sarentha barked. Ethan ran to the console, overriding controls and rerouting systems through human firewalls. I can hold it, but not for long. The red glow inside the mimic device changed shape, turning into an image, a human face, but not real. Artificial. A creation. You should not have come here, it said. Now you will die with your answers. The enemy ships lit up. Engines activated. They're waking, Ethan said. Sarentha drew her weapon. Then we fight. The ship's alarms screamed as the first wave of machines moved in. The shadow. Flames spun into motion. Then deep in the void, war had begun, not just for power, but for truth. The shadow flame dove between two icy asteroids, engines roaring as laser fire streaked past its hull. The enemy machines were relentless, no voices, no hesitation, just deadly precision. Ethan had never flown in battle before, but now he was. Inside a ship under full attack, systems flickering, the air filled with warning alarms. Shields at 43%, shouted Ro, the pilot. We can't outrun them, not in this field. Sarentha stood behind the command seat, her fingers clutching the rail. We don't run, we fight through. Ethan jumped to the secondary console, sweat on his forehead. I'm rerouting energy. To the forward cannons. If we break their formation, we might get a clear shot to that station. Ro's silver eyes narrowed. You want to fly through the swarm? Ethan nodded. It's suicide. But if we don't stop them now, they'll send more to the capital. This isn't a scouting base, it's a launch point. Sarentha moved closer to Ethan. We destroy the station, we break their network? He nodded again. I believe so. Their machines aren't thinking. They're reacting to signal commands. Cut the source, cut the army. Sarentha's voice turned sharp. Do it. Ro didn't wait. The shadow flame twisted sharply, speeding through the metallic storm. Alien drones fired rapidly, some exploding against the shields, others zipping past so fast they almost disappeared. Inside the cockpit, the lights dimmed as power shifted. The sound of the ship's core changed, pitch charging, building up for one focused blast. Ethan pointed to the station's core. There, that crystal node, it's amplifying the signal. Target locked, Ro said. Fire. The front cannon roared. A beam of glowing white light burst from the nose of the ship and tore through the dark void. It hit the station's core, and for one long second, nothing happened. Then the entire station pulsed red and detonated. The blast wave pushed asteroids away like dry leaves. Machines spun out of control. Some collapsed immediately. Others flew into each other and shattered. Inside the ship, everyone held their breath. Then silence. Ro exhaled. It's over. Sarentha turned to Ethan, eyes wide. You were right, I guessed, Ethan replied, voice shaking. A very lucky guess. She laughed once, a rare sound, then never stopped guessing. But Ethan didn't smile. He was staring at the remains of the station, something bothering him. That message, he whispered. The voice. It used my name again. Yes, Sarentha said. They're watching you. Ethan nodded. But why? I'm not important. I'm not royal or powerful. You're unpredictable, she answered. You're not raised in their systems. You don't follow their logic. That makes you dangerous to them. Ro added. And maybe they fear you. As the ship turned back toward home, the mimic device on the table flickered once more. A final message appeared. This time, it was a symbol. A triangle within a circle, glowing red. Ethan frowned. I've seen that before. Sarentha looked at him. Where? He thought back. Years ago. A job on a mining moon. He worked on an abandoned AI Core 1 the humans couldn't fully activate. It had that same symbol. Back then, they thought. It was just leftover alien tech. I think, Ethan said slowly. This isn't just about the Ilari or this wedding. This has been building for a long time. You're saying the architects have been preparing? Sorrentha asked. No, Ethan replied, eyes serious. I'm saying someone woke them up. And now they've chosen me. The mimic device melted into black dust before their eyes. Self-destructed. Whatever was guiding these attacks, whoever was sending these messages knew Ethan had survived. And they weren't done yet. Back on the capital planet, the Ilari king stood at the palace gates, watching the stars with narrowed eyes. When his daughter returned, she would not be the same. Nor would the human she chose. The wedding that started as a symbol of peace was now the beginning of a war no one truly understood. But one thing was becoming clear. This marriage had changed everything. The palace gates opened slowly as the shadow flame returned. Alien guards lined the walkways in formal armor, and a quiet crowd had gathered. Nobles, officials, soldiers, and citizens. All stared as the ship landed. But their attention wasn't on the princess. It was on the human beside her. Ethan stepped down the ramp, his eyes tired but alert. Sorrentha walked beside him, chin high, every move controlled and regal. Behind them, Ro and the guards followed, carrying the melted remains of the mimic device in a sealed containment cube. The king met them at the stairs of the royal court. You survived, he said with a small nod. Barely, Ethan replied. Sorrentha stepped forward. The threat is real. They control machines, they speak through mimic devices, and they are watching Ethan specifically. The king raised one brow. Why him? Ethan spoke up. Because I'm the crack in their design. They've planned this for years, every empire, every system, but humans weren't part of that. We were unpredictable. And now, thanks to your daughter's decision, I'm standing in the center of their plans. The king looked down at the black ash in the container. You are not trained in war. No, Ethan agreed. But I am good at solving problems others ignore. He turned to the Ilari tech masters who had gathered nearby. I need every record of abandoned ruins, inactive AI systems, or ancient beacons marked with the symbol. He drew it on the display again, the red triangle inside a circle. The council members muttered quietly. One old alien stepped forward, his voice raspy. There is one place, forbidden for centuries. A system known as Ark's Taller, the king frowned. That place is a myth. Maybe, Ethan said. But it's the same symbol. I've seen reports of human scouts finding ruins there years ago, before the planet was blocked off. Sorrentha looked at her father. Then we go there. No, the king said. You do not. That place is cursed. Anyone who enters does not return. Ethan stepped forward. If we don't go, the next wave won't be machines. It will be worse. The king stared at them both, then let out a long sigh. Then you will take a full escort. And this time, you do not leave the system without my word. Sorrentha bowed slightly. Thank you, father. 3 days later, Ethan and Sorrentha stood in a massive hangar preparing for departure. The new ship was larger than Shadow Flame, with thick armor and upgraded scanning tech. It was called Eclipse of Dawn, a name that felt heavy in Ethan's mind. He looked at Sorrentha. You really believe this will end there? No, she said softly. But I believe it may begin there. Before they could board, one of the guards approached. You have a visitor, Highness. A tall cloaked figure entered the bay. Not Ilari, not human. It was a Thalnax elder, the same species once at war with the Ilari. Peace, the old alien said, holding up both hands. I come with knowledge. The guards aimed weapons at him, but Sorrentha raised her hand. Speak. The elder's voice was slow. The architects once came to us, before the fall. They promised strength, then erased our skies. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Why now? They were buried, the elder replied, until something woke them. Not here, not from your palace or mine. From Earth. Ethan stepped back. What? The elder nodded. Your world's growing tech, your AI signals, your experiments, they echoed across the old void. And now, they remember. Sorrentha looked at Ethan. Then this is not just our war. It never was, he whispered. The elder left as silently as he came. As the eclipse of dawn entered jump space, Ethan stood at the window, watching the stars blur. He turned to Sorrentha beside him. If this place Interstellar really is where it started, we may not come back. Sorrentha didn't blink. I didn't marry you because it was easy. He smiled faintly. You married me because I tackled an assassin. I married you, she said, stepping closer, because no one else would have dared to. Outside the window, a faint red glow appeared ahead. They were close now. To the place where myths whispered. To the place no one returned from. To the beginning of the truth. The eclipse of dawn emerged from jump space with a heavy silence. Interstellar drifted ahead, a dead planet orbiting a broken star. Its surface was cracked, blackened by ancient heat, with ruins taller than cities and strange towers shaped like claws reaching toward the sky. No signals came from the surface, no life. Just static. Ethan stood at the front of the observation deck, staring in awe. That place was built, he said softly. Not grown, not formed by nature. Built by something that knew more than all of us. Sorrentha stood beside him, her hand resting gently on the edge of the glass. And something that still watches. As they prepared to descend, sensors began to fail one by one. Navigation, comms, shields each flickered, then shut down completely. It's a field, Ethan muttered. Something designed to keep outsiders blind. It's not random, it's active. We're being welcomed, Sorrentha said coldly, like prey walking into a trap. Despite the warnings, they landed on a flat stone platform surrounded by towering statues, alien forms with many eyes and arms, now worn by time. Their ship hissed as the ramp opened, and dust from the cursed world swirled in. A wind that carried no warmth brushed against Ethan's neck as they stepped outside. No sounds, no movement, only a humming deep beneath the ground. The team moved carefully through the ruins. The Ilari guards formed a tight perimeter, while Ethan followed the mimic device's remains, now placed in a sensor case. It pulsed faintly, like a compass. This way, he said, through crumbling halls and twisted corridors. They followed a hidden path. At the center of the ruins, they found a chamber, its walls covered in glowing symbols that matched the one Ethan had seen so many times. In the middle stood a pillar and a figure. It looked human. But at WASN single quotes to. It had no eyes, only smooth skin. No mouth, only a faint hum. It turned toward them slowly, as if it had waited centuries for their arrival. You were expected, it said, not with a voice, but directly into their minds. Ethan flinched. You're one of them. I am a shard, the being replied. A memory of the architects. And you are the key that broke silence. Why me? Ethan demanded. I'm no leader. I'm not chosen, I'm just a human, the shard interrupted. The only species we failed to understand. You adapt. You feel. You act without logic. Your love, your defiance, woke us. Sorrentha narrowed her eyes. You sent machines to kill us. The shard tilted its head. We sent tests, to see if the human would resist. To see if love could protect. Ethan stepped forward. You're not here to destroy the galaxy, you're here to control it. To guide it, the shard said. Our creators are gone, their rules lost. But order must remain, and if we say no? Sorrentha asked. The shard raised one arm. All around them, walls began to pulse. Stone turned to metal. Shapes formed, massive machines buried under the planet's crust, now waking. We will give the galaxy one choice, the shard said. Unite under us or vanish. Ethan looked at Sorrentha. You trust me? With everything, she whispered. Ethan reached into the sensor case and pulled out a last human-made device. Something simple, something overlooked, an EMP surge. Core. He slammed it against the ground. A pulse of blue energy burst outward, crashing into the shard's form, and the sleeping machine's sparks flew. The walls cracked. The shard screamed not in pain, but in confusion. No logic. It cried, "You should have chosen survival." Ethan stepped closer. That's the thing about humans. We don't always choose what makes sense. Sorrentha fired her weapon at the power core behind the shard, and with a massive boom, the entire chamber collapsed. Hours later, the eclipse of dawn flew back toward the Ilari capital, damaged but alive. In the royal court, the king stood waiting. When Sorrentha and Ethan entered, side by side, the room fell quiet. Ethan placed the last shard fragment on the table. They're real, they're ancient, but now they're broken. The king stared at the piece. "And what will you do now?" "Human?" Ethan looked at Sorrentha. "I think I've had enough weddings for one life." She smiled softly and took his hand. But deep in space, among cold stars, a signal blinked, not from the architects, but from another place. Watching, learning, waiting. The war was over. For now, but the galaxy had changed, and the love between one human and one alien princess had rewritten history. Forever.